This is a very brief explanation of what I've done with the Chaos Excel spreadsheet. And so if you notice, I have the count here where 0 is our starting point at 1, 1 with an initial roll of 2. Now the initial roll tells us what is going to happen in the next line. So for example, going into the math behind this, you will see that I rolled a 2. And if I come over here, notice that I have an if condition statement that if I roll a 2, right, D2, this is my D2 column, the roll column, that means I'm going to take the value from B2, which in the B column is a 1, add 2 to it, so I get a 3, and divide that in half, so I get 1.5. Okay, and then in this column, this is also trained that if I roll a 2, then I'm simply going to divide the value above by 2. And so that's for when the roll is 2. Let's look here where I rolled a 1. Here I rolled a 1. Notice that this 1 is going to affect this cell, which is B7. So because I rolled a 1, I'm going to take the value above and divide it by 2. So 1.9375 divided by 2 gives me 0.96875, and so on. Same happens here. In this case, this would be C6 divided by 2. So 0.0625 divided by 2. So the three conditions are stated here, and those are my rolls, 1, 2, and 3. And now I was curious as to the percentages. So if I roll a 1, a 2, a 3, you can see that in this particular demonstration, I happen to have 507 in row 1, I have 486 2s, and I have 508 3s. And so this tells me percentage-wise that they're pretty close. They're about 33 apiece. Not exactly as you can see, but I've only rolled 1,500, which doesn't sound like a lot. And it technically is not a lot, because once you get into the 10,000s, the triangle becomes even more significantly outlined. I do have the box and whisker values here for both column B and C, and I did that just to see what is happening in terms of the values. And I was curious, how many rolls does it take? They make the joke about how many rolls does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll. Well, how many rolls does it take to get you that Sierpinski triangle to start to show at various stages? So I did tinker with this to where I was able to see quite clearly where the authors, and I did use the younger book. I used the older version of it. And they call it lit for each of the triangles. So I played with this. I also played with the points. I kind of like the thick points because I want to see this propagate quickly. So so yes, one of the elements that I like about Excel is that you quickly get your data. Whatever it is that you're seeking, it's fairly easy to find in terms of probabilities and whatnot. And here you can see the box and whiskers as they're situated. I've done this experiment several times and it changes every single time. So I'm sure that as, with respect to the law of large numbers, that we eventually get to perfection, right? To the exact value we're looking for, seeking. So that's using Excel. So, curiosity piques me in this class. This has been a very exciting class for me. And using GeoGebra has been eye-opening, and I was so excited about doing this, so I went ahead and animated this. What I find here in GeoGebra is that this is much quicker. So I went ahead and designed this, establishing the same rules, where we still are moving halfway to the next point based on the prior iteration, and allowing in a sense, the roll. And in this case, what I did to mimic the roll was I situated it so that it would actually recognize on update, which is the same as a loop in Python. And so you can see already in the animation that this is using the vectors. Let me click on the vector list so you can see there's my vectors in the background working their magic. And I've tinkered with a few things such as iteration, adding the number of iterations. It did also do a checkbox. I did several things with this, and I like the plain view. I think it's easier to use. So this is the vector use for this particular assignment. And as I stated, on click, I do have some basic updates on click. You can see that here, if I click on the slider and I go to scripting, this is my code where I tell it to go halfway using the random element vec list. And so I set the value of I plus 1 for the iterations, which I actually am not showing right now.